All right, Shalom. Giving all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations to the tabernacle of David, the hopeful elect, that are scattered abroad across the four winds of the earth. And this is going to be a follow-up video. This is pretty much like a part 2 to the previous lesson that I did dealing with the craft of Hasad, brother Hasad. All right, so I'm gonna play where I left off at in the video, where you hear him going back and forth with this other Israelite brother on this platform. So let's deal with this. And this is when he goes into 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, and he uses the same craft and argument, where it talks about, all men. It uses the Greek word in association with Romans, the 5th chapter, the 18th and 19th verse. And now he's going to the personal letter that Paul wrote to Timothy, who he put, as a leader over the church of Ephesus. All right. So their mission, we know that they have an agenda now. Their mission is to save the heathen now. And they're tearing down the very foundation, that they want to build upon. All right. But all they're doing is kicking against the pricks. All right. You can't do nothing against the truth before it. We level up every time the opposition, comes with whatever BS they come with. So anyway, let's get into it.
With his usage of pos anthropos in Romans chapter 5, whatever your name is, Otsar?
No.
He's ancient.
No.
So the apostle Paul
Hey, just go on mute. Hey.
No, I'm gonna move on. In 1 Timothy chapter 2, Paul says, I exhort therefore that first of all, supplication, prayer, intercessions, and giving of thanks to be made for pos anthropos, same word here that he uses in Romans 5, all human beings, for kings, and for all that are in authority. You asked me 2 back-to-back questions, so again, I believe it's only fair that I'm allotted the same opportunity. Just so real quick, did we have any kings in the 1st century when Paul is writing this letter to Timothy?
No.
Okay, so when he says kings and for all who are in authority, is he talking about an Israelite, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so what kings did we have in the 1st century?
Yeah. Wait, I didn't. I'm sorry. You went out. Okay. So repeat that.
Oh, okay.
I thought you asked me were those kings non-Israelites. I'm sorry.
Okay, don't worry about it. I'll ask again.
Go ahead.
1 Timothy 2 and 2, for kings and for all who are in authority. We already agreed we did not have kings. So these kings that Paul is saying we should make supplication, prayer, and intercession for are not Israelites. You agree?
Yes.
Okay.
You said are non-Israelites, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. You talking so fast, man, like a little girl. I can't even understand you, bro. You talk like how my baby mama talk.
Keep it clean, the water's off, keep it clean.
And this is real low level. See, and Hasad, he knew it all along. That's why he entertained having this little discussion with this individual. They're not well studied. So you can see what their argument is, right? He's using the writing of Paul in his letter to Timothy. So let's go to it real quick. So this is supposed to mean that, the nations can be saved now. So this is 1 Timothy 2 and verse 1. It says, I exhort therefore that first of all, supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. So what is he calling for Timothy to do? He's simply saying, because he exhorted to the church of Thessalonica to pray without ceasing. We ought to always be praying to the Lord. to the Father in the name of his only begotten Son. And these are the things that he ought to pray for. Make supplications, prayers, intercessions, and a giving of thanks for all on behalf of all men, for kings, and for all that are in authority. Now, what he's calling for Timothy to do is no different than what Jeremiah did, than what Nehemiah did. All right, and I'm gonna show that example. All right, but you can even use their logic, right? You know, you can meet their craft with craft. The scriptures in the Apocrypha said that Abraham prayed for the Sodomites. Now, we all know there's no, you can't pray for a sin that's unto death. All right, them moles in the land of Sodom and Gomorrah and those neighboring cities, there was no redeeming for them. They were vile, filthy beasts, right? And they were constantly with their vile behavior, they were vexing righteous Lot. Lot was the righteous that happened to be in the midst of all that wickedness. So the Spirit had Abraham pray for Sodom for the well-being, the welfare of his nephew Lot, who happens to be in Sodom. So are we going to say that he prayed for the Sodomites? So were the Sodomites able to make it? And then when the Lord even said, Sodom and Gomorrah will be more tolerable for you in the day of judgment, does that mean that the Sodomites and the Hamites over there, that all of a sudden they can be saved? Because we know he did not condone the lawless behavior, and that's not what he was making an intercession for. Let me try to find that account real quick. I believe it's in 2nd Esdras. Was it the 7th chapter? Yeah, this is 2nd Esdras chapter 7 and 30. I'll start at verse 34. It says, "But judgment only shall remain true, truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong, and the work shall follow, and the reward shall be shewed, and the good deed shall be of force, and wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Then said I, Abraham prayed first for the Sodomites, and Moses for the fathers that sinned in the wilderness." See that? So when Abraham prayed for the Sodomites, was he condoning and he was literally praying? Matter of fact, this is what I'm gonna do. Let's go to Genesis, so we can get the actual history and the context of it. Did he literally pray for the actual people that were in the act of committing homosexuality? So let's go to Genesis 18. This is Genesis 18. And I'm going to start at 20. It says, "And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me. And if not, I will know." You know, because just like John the Revelator in the book of Revelation, you know, he saw that the sins, you know, reached unto heavens, you know, and the Lord had remembered all her iniquities. That's the sins of this place crying up, you know, because the souls of the just, you know, they're constantly crying, you know, continually to the Father about all this wickedness that we see happening. You know, they're complaining continuously to the Father. You know, just like vexed Lot. He was vexed with the filthy behavior of the wicked, the wickedness that was going on. All right. And it says that in Romans the 8th chapter about how our even our spirit will make intercession Sometimes you don't even have to, speak out the actual words. Sometimes your spirit gives utterance to the Lord. This is Romans 8. Yeah, Romans 8 and 26, it says, likewise, the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. All right, and he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of the Most High. All right. So right here, you're gonna see that Abraham, he was trying to make intercession, for Sodom, because his nephew was in Sodom. So he's concerned with, if there is anybody that's righteous, all right, spare that city, so that the righteous don't be partakers of your judgment, right? Verse 21, verse 22, it says, and the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord, and Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city, wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the filthy, for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Because he hearing what the Lord's getting ready to do to Sodom, Gomorrah, Zoar, all right, Zoabim. I think I got to go back and reread the 5 cities, but it was all 5 cities all together that all ended up getting destroyed. So he's making intercession before it even takes place. It says, and the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again and said, peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there will be 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy for 20's sake. So he just kept going down in the numbers, right? And he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy for the 10's sake. And the Lord went his way, and as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. All right, so you can see that he was making that intercession for Sodom for the sake of the righteous that would happen to be dwelling in that sinful place. All right. And who ended up, when we read the initial story, who ended up making it out of there? Really only 3 people. Because Lot's stupid ass wife, he gave the angel told them, gave him a simple instruction: when you get up out of here, do not turn back, don't look back. And her silly ass, she did just that. And you go into it, you know exactly why she did. She had possessions there. She wasn't willing to walk away. Even though it was a sinful place, but she was living in comfort while living in Sodom. Because Lot, he was well off. He had wealth. Being the nephew of Abraham. Okay. So this is no different. Okay. wherever you're at, you want to make sure that you pray that the Lord can have favor upon you and your people for safety purposes. All right, for a peaceful, going back to what he said, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life. So you don't have to fear, man. So you don't have to deal with the anxiety of suffering wrath from the king or governors or the authorities. Because that's basically what happened when we had to go into exile in Babylon. And what did Jeremiah pray for? Let's go to that. This is for the well-being of you and your people. This has nothing to do with saving the other nations, man. So this is Jeremiah 29. And I'll start at when it says, "Now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of the elders, which were carried away captives, and to the priests, and to the prophets, and to all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. After that, Jeconiah the king, and the queen, and the eunuchs, the princes of Judah and Jerusalem, and the carpenters and the smiths were departed from Jerusalem by the hand of Hasad the son of Shaphan, and Gamariah the son of Hilkiah, whom Zedekiah king of Judah sent unto Babylon to Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon." Okay. It says, "Build ye houses." All right, because you're going to be there for a while. So build you houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. Take ye wives. All right, so, and why is he saying this? So that you can live a peaceable life while you happen to be in captivity under Babylon, under Nebuchadnezzar. All right. Beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that you may be fruitful and multiply. We're in exile, but the commandment still goes. Be fruitful and multiply. All right. The Lord had numbered, he increased us, and we became the sand of the sea from multitude. It says that you may be increased there and not diminished, and seek the peace of the city, whether I have caused you to be carried away captives, and pray unto the Lord for it, for in the peace thereof shall you have peace. All right. So this is no different than what Timothy is being called to do. He's being called upon by Apostle Paul to pray for the peace. Like he told the church of Rome, to, if it be possible, be at peace with all men. All right. Because we're under enemy lines. We're under authority. We're subject to the higher power, man. They were under the authorities of Rome, and they set up kings over us, like the Herodian kings. So we had to basically, we had to be cordial with them for the time being. We were in captivity. And even Paul, he even said, let's go to, when you go to Romans 13. And I remember Deacon broke this down wrong when he was a part of Sakari. Romans 13. I'll start at the top. Romans 13:1, it says, "Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High." They're under the fourth beast at this particular stage. All right, so this is all part of the will of the Father. You got to be subject to this dominion. He understood, just like Daniel said in Daniel the 4th chapter. All right, that this decree is under the watchers. Let's go to that too. Daniel 4:17. And it says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the bases of men. And this was during the time of the first beast, which was the Babylonians. By the time of Apostle Paul's writings, we were under the fourth beast, which was the Roman Empire, the Romans. So he's telling them, the church, up under the Roman authorities, to be subject to him, because the Most High rules in the kingdom of men. The Lord is who set the Romans up. This is why Yahushua was telling those wicked scribes and Pharisees, when they was trying to trap him in his words, and they came to him with that denarius, and they asked him, you know, hey, are we supposed to pay tribute to the king? And the Lord said, give it to me, man. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and render to the Most High what is the Most High's. All right. So we have to be subject to payments. We have to pay taxes. Okay. We have to come up under the registry. Is that not what Joseph had to do? He had to go sign up because he was of the tribe of Judah and Bethlehem, of the line of David. He had to partake in the registry and pay the taxes, because we were not in our own kingdom. So verse 2, it says, whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of the Most High, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. You try to fight, you try to go carnal and fight with the Romans, you're going to receive damnation. And that's what happened with them zealots. And hell, the Sakari, they were the main ones who started that war. And it ended in a bloodbath. It ended with Jerusalem being besieged, the temple sacked again, a lot of Israelites being starved out, the city surrounded. So this is why Paul was making this admonition, and this was decades before it even took place, before the besieging of Jerusalem. Continuing on, it says, for rulers are not a terror to good works, because you want to live an honest and peaceable life. As long as you live in a peaceful life, you doing what you're supposed to do. You know, you praying, you keeping the commandments. You have a wife, you have sons, daughters. All right, you having your behavior honest among the heathen. They don't have any bad thing to say about you. Everything is just peaceful. You're not giving them a reason to come down upon you. You're not being suffered as a evildoer, a thief, a murderer. It says, for rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Yeah, Esau come after your ass. Jakes be nervous and twitching when the police roll by, but really you tend to be a bit more calm when you know you ain't did nothing. When you got all your paperwork, you got your license and registration, your proof of insurance, everything is up to date. You ain't got no record because you ain't out there committing crimes. You're not gonna be in fear. You're not gonna be in terror. All right. It says, well, thou then be not afraid of the power. Do that which is good, and thou shalt have the praise of the same. For he is the minister of the Most High to thee for good. All right. And Hakah, when he was under the Sakari, his understanding was this isn't talking about the Romans, because it says, look, it says minister of God. The nations can't be ministers of God. Well, if the Lord rules in the kingdom of men and he controls the heart of the king, like it says in Proverbs 21, the Lord can make that king do what the hell the Lord wants him to do. You know, just like he put Balaam, he was a heathen, but the Lord turned him into a prophet momentarily, just to tell Balak, the king of Moab, that hey, the Israelites that you trying to have me put a curse on, they're gonna do valiantly against you. All nations are gonna be brought down, and they're gonna rule and possess you. He was, the Lord used that heathen to declare the end from the beginning. You ain't gonna be able to do nothing against them. So the Lord, he could do what he want with his possessions, because the Lord governs the entire world with the palm of his hand. All right. Hey, Nebuchadnezzar was considered a servant of the Most High, even though he was an adversary. When you jump down to is it in this chapter? It might be Jeremiah 27 chapter. Because the word minister, it literally means servant or to serve. I think it's in Jeremiah 27. Yep, Jeremiah 27:6, it says, and now I have given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him. And all nations shall serve him, and his son and his son's son, until the very time of his land come, and then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. All right, so the Lord was pretty much raising up Nebuchadnezzar, and he was going to be a dominant force. You can't resist him. You can't come up against him, or you're going to lose, and your armies are going to get destroyed. Because the Lord was, it was for the purpose of the vision of Daniel, that these beasts was representing these kingdoms were going to rise, and they were going to have dominion for a certain period of time, and then their dominion was going to be taken away and replaced with another, from nation to nation. All right. So we happen to be under the fourth one during the time of the Acts of the Apostles and Apostle Paul and his ministry. So he's simply telling them what Jeremiah was telling Israelites that were in exile under Nebuchadnezzar. All right. Just basically, you know, don't give them any reason, man, so that you can be in peace. All right, verse 4, it says, for he is the minister of the Most High to thee for good, but if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of the Most High, a revenger, to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. See that? So don't do nothing wicked to give them a reason to you know, destroy you or put you to death. You know, be it how they executed back then, they crucified you, you know, or they will behead you, you know. So anyway, I think I believe I mentioned Nehemiah, right? So let's go to Nehemiah. Let's see what he prayed for. Nehemiah's grief for the exiles, right? Nehemiah 1:1, it says, the words of Nehemiah, the son of Hechaliah, and it came to pass in the month Chislu, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the palace, that Hanani, one of the brethren, came, and he and certain men of Judah, and I asked him concerning the Jews that had escaped, which were left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. And they said unto me, the remnant that are left of the captivity there in the province are in great affliction and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. All right, so this was, you know, he's hearing of what actually transpired in Jerusalem. All right, which the Babylonians, they took us down, they destroyed the temple, and they took, you know, all the consecrations out of the temple and took it for themselves. So he's hearing the message of you know, the aftermath, and he falls into grief for those that were carried away, right? So this is what he prays, because now he's under a new rulership. This is now under the the Persian Empire, right? So let's jump down. And this is yeah, I'm gonna just I'll start at verse 8. It says, "Remember, I beseech thee, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, if you transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations. But if you turn unto me and keep my commandments and do them, though you were Slakia, though there were of you cast out unto the uttermost part of the heaven, yet I will gather them from thence, and I will bring them into the place that I have chosen to set my name there. Now these are thy servants and thy people, whom thou hast redeemed by thy great power and by thy strong hand." All right. Started with Cyrus the Great, and then you had Darius, and then you had Xerxes. And I believe Nehemiah, if I'm not mistaken, he was under the rule of Xerxes the first, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. Yep. Yes, Nehemiah was a Israelite cupbearer to the Persian king Xerxes I, a highly trusted and influential position that involved tasking the king's food and drink for poison, and often led to becoming a close advisor, which allowed him to eventually persuade the king to let him return to Jerusalem to rebuild its walls. This role gave him unique access and favor, all right, which is wise. So this is what Nehemiah prayed for. It says, O Lord, I beseech thee, let now thine ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant and to the prayer of thy servants who desire to fear thy name and prosper, I pray thee, thy servant this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man. Right? For I was the king's cupbearer. So Nehemiah did this, Jeremiah did this. This is exactly what Apostle Paul was advising to Timothy. This did not mean that they're going to be saved at all. He's praying for the well-being, the welfare, and peace. All right. So let me go from there, because it's according to the Proverbs, are dealing with the king. If you're under the authority of a king, you want to seek the peace of that king. You want favorability from that king. You don't want wrath from the king. Proverbs 16 and starting at 13, it says, "Righteous lips are the delight of kings, and they love him that speak of right." And that's what Paul was doing when he came before Agrippa. He was just saying the right things at the right time, man, because he was in a vulnerable position. He was on trial. So he said whatever he could to win over the heart of the king. All right? Yeah, try to use the same argument that Vocab and them try to use. King Agrippa was a damn Edomite. There's no salvation for the Edomite. Paul was just using a guile, man. It says the wrath of a king is as messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it. Because the king have the power to jail you or get you put to death. All right? In the light of the king's countenance is life, and his favor is as a cloud of the latter rain. Okay? So that's simply the wisdom that was being applied by the prophets, as well as Apostle Paul, man. Let me get this one. Proverbs 19 and 12, it says, "The king's wrath is as the roaring of a lion, but his favor is as dew upon the grass." Proverbs 20 and 2, "The fear of a king is as the roaring of a lion. Whoso provoketh him to anger sinneth against his own soul." Yeah, you would be stupid to piss off the king. All right? So that's essentially the case of You know, what Jeremiah did, what Nehemiah did, all right, what Apostle Paul did before Agrippa. It's all the same concept, okay? That you may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty, for this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior, who will have all men to be saved. Who is that all men talking about that would be saved? All Israelites. Let's go to Romans 11, dealing with the parable of the olive tree, the grafting of the olive tree, in which really I'm not going to even read the chapter. I'm just going to read these 2 verses that actually encapsulate what Romans 11 is conveying. All right, Romans 11 and 25, it says, "For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in." Who is the Gentiles in this context? It's talking about Israel. Israel would be the outcasted Israelites that were scattered amongst the nations, that fell away from the covenant, all right, and they lost the citizenship, the commonwealth of Israel. They needed to be brought in, since the ones that rejected Yahushai, the Lord pretty much rejected them. All right, this is that kingdom that will bring forth fruits. It says, "And so all Israel shall be saved." That's the all men who will be saved, all Israel. "As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them, when I will take away their sins." And where was that taken from? Isaiah. Isaiah 59 and verse 20. And it says, "And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob, saith the Lord." All right, that's who that's talking about. So all Israel will be saved, because the Lord's going to turn back their transgressions. All right, and that was the covenant that he made with his people, not everybody else. Okay, so that's who all men that you read about in Timothy, that all men that would be saved, is talking about Israelites. All Israel shall be saved. Okay, and come to the knowledge of the truth, for there was one God and one mediator between the Most High and men, the man Yahushua HaMashiach. Yeah, because like it says in Hebrews, was that the 9th chapter? Let's go there real quick, and we're going to end. Hebrews 9 and verse 15, it says, "And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament." Who was under the first covenant, man? "They which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood, for when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people," oh, that's everybody, huh? Everybody under the heavens, right? "According to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats, with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, This is the blood of the testament which the Most High have enjoined unto you. Moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and of the vessels of the ministry. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Hamashiach is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of the Most High for us, nor yet that he should offer himself often, as the high priest entereth into the holy place every year with the blood of others into the holy of holies. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now, once in the end of the world, have he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment, so Hamashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many. That's talking about the sins of Israel, because they were under the law. They were under the first covenant. And unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. And that'll end the lesson right there. Okay? So that's the all men that will be saved. They would come up under the mediator, which is Yahushai. All right? He's the mediator between us and the Father. Because the reconciliation and justification was for Israel, not the world. So I'm going to end the lesson on that. Hopefully y'all were edified. I'm going to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh Shem Shai. Shalom.